Hello, friends! Welcome back to the Tabletop Tavern. My name is Jenny. I will be your DM, and I'm going to allow my players to introduce themselves real quick before we get started here with part one of our Season 1 finale, starting with the fabulous, the beautiful, the effervescent, the ginger, Victoria Shaz.
Hi everyone, my name is Victoria and I play Leon LaBelle.
Hi everyone, my name is Ryan and I play Galen Wavefair.
Hi guys, I'm Doe or Doe Deer and I play Gris Littlefoot.
Pippin and I play Wood Elf Monk Ariadne and Kalte.
My dearest Mama, I miss you, and I love you. I'm sorry for leaving, and I'm sorry for not giving you all of the details. You and Grandma have never spoken to me about my father, and so I did what I do best. I took matters into my own hands.
Reese, I don't know why I'm writing you. And this journal you left behind. I suppose the simplest explanation is that I miss you. You always were a fan of simple explanations. I know you always dreamt of adventure for me, and suffice it to say, I found it. My only wish is that you had been at my side as I left the grove.
Dear Honeybee, leaving you in Aquara after only a few days has been weighing on me. Going from seeing your sharp smile and hearing your even sharper wit to being alone on the ocean is like whiplash.
My dearest Liliadre, so much has transpired since I last wrote you, and yet so little time has passed. I've lived a long life, though short by the measure of our kind, and yet the adventures of the past few weeks seem to outweigh, both in importance and action, so many of the events of the last 100-some-odd years.
I know you're probably hoping I'm okay, or at least I hope you are. And I am. You don't need to worry, but I do have some stories to tell you when I get back, and maybe then you can tell me of your adventures too. I love you, Bee. I'll be back soon, just like I promised.
For all this, I've taken to thinking of the homes I've left behind, and I think fondly of the home you seem to have found in the Wildflower. There's been ne'er a dull moment since I left my temple, and my old mentors might have said that these connections are crossing my path for a reason, but while I would usually dismiss their faith as coincidence, that same belief would mean our meeting falls under the same. And I no longer know if I desire this to be the truth.
Oh, my sweet and gentle man. I found a family. The children we always wanted in many ways. They're broken and messy, and sometimes they leave me so angry and hurt. But that's what a family is, isn't it? I think you'd love them. I think you will love them. They want so badly for me to have hope, and so I'll allow myself to be hopeful.
I found him, or he found me. It was a mix of both, I think. I'm about to meet him, about to find what my true destiny is. This is a good thing. This feels right. I love you, Mum. Stay safe for me, and I'll stay safe for you.
Love and fair winds. Torrent.
All my love, Leon.
Yours, in hopeful friendship, Ariadne and Kalte.
Yours always, and especially now, Gris.
Alright, so, when last we left off, you all had taken the step to enter the dream world via the use of the magical herb known as fairy fern. You pass into unconsciousness, and as it happens, you can swear you can hear two men shouting in anger. You open your eyes slowly. Wherever you are is a flat plain, almost entirely unlike the mountain on which you fell asleep. It's hard to see beyond about 5 feet in front of you. Not for lack of light, as cracks in the ground glow eerily with what appears to be hot embers, but due to the thick, sulphurous smoke that curls through the air. Out of the corner of your eye, it almost resembles snakes, or even dragons, rearing back to strike or slithering around the necks of your companions. Despite the screams you could have sworn you heard as you fell asleep, the dream plane is silent, save for the crackle of the occasional flame that leaps from the cracked and dry ground. The air is red, whether from the light of the fire or the heavy dry dust that is kicked up beneath your feet is unclear. Though you have passed into the dream world, seated in a small circle, you now find yourselves standing, with a few of your party members unaccounted for. Roll a perception check.
Everyone?
Yep.
Oh, God. 17.
18.
5 plus
No.
5, 10.
6.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Let's start with Leon and Gris. Leon, Gris, you can only see one other member of your party. You appear to be marooned by yourself with only Leon, Gris, and Gris. Although you're happy to see her, this causes you a lot of fear. Leon, you are alone with only your halfling friend for company. Ari and Galen, you take a look around. Even with your abysmal rolls, you are able to account for only 2 other members of your party. Ari, much to your joy and Galen's chagrin, besides your Triton friend, the only other member of your party with you is Marius, who looks a little confused. This seems like perhaps a good time to take in your surroundings, get your bearings, maybe look around and make sure the others are okay.
Okay. Leon turns to Gris and says, "Oh my, what, Galen, Ari, Marius, what? Does this usually happen in the dream world?"
All I know about the dream world is what I've read in Reese's journal or what I've studied, and all I know is that the connection to your soul, and your ties to the world beyond kind of disappear a little bit from the physical plane, and things shift, and I don't know where our friends are. I didn't expect us to not all end up in the same place.
Neither did I. Do our perception rolls give us the ability to look around? Are we going to get a good look with the 17?
Yeah, you know what, with your 17, so you take a moment again to sort of figure out where you are, now that you know that only Gris is with you. You can't see anything beyond 5 feet in front of you. There is this thick, almost red, swirling mist around you. You look to the halfling next to you, and you find that Gris is both recognizable and unrecognizable here. Your halfling friend, her skin is... Oop, someone's got some crackling. It looks like Ryan. Your mic is doing some weird stuff here. You look to Gris, and your breath is sort of taken away. She's beautiful, but she's always been beautiful. Her skin is smooth, no longer marked by age, and her hair is no longer graying, but a youthful auburn. The bridge of her nose is smattered with cinnamon-colored freckles, and her face dimpled by youth. The smile lines you're used to next to her eyes are gone. Her signature staff is still strapped to her back, and dangling from it is a charm you've never noticed before. It's small and carved from wood, and upon closer examination seems to resemble a chickadee. Leon, you did not know her back then, but you have to imagine this is what Gris looked like as a young woman.
Leon stops and is like, "Oh my god, Gris, does physical things, have they passed along with Leon, in her satchel? She had a mirror in her satchel in the real world.
Leon, you
Would that
reach
have passed along
for your mirror, and you find that at your waist where your purse would normally hang, instead is only the obsidian crown of the Stone King and the dagger you stole from Gabriel.
Oh. Leon kind of pats her side and is like, "Gris, you look young. You look like my age young."
Chris kind of looks down at her hands and kind of turns them over and is like, "Well, I feel the same." Leon, I forgot about this.
And Gris,
So-
before you start to tell Leon whatever you're going to say, you actually take a moment to look at your friend. You rolled a 21, right?
Or an 18.
Okay. Leon also looks different. She is no longer in her traveling clothes, but rather the dress that Raphael sewed her in Freylin. Her hair is braided ornately, and on top of her head sits a small band, almost a diadem or a tiny tiara, made from the same dark stone as the crown that hangs at her waist. You look up into her eyes and you sort of stumble back a little bit. The irises are golden, the color of fine jewelry. The pupils are vertical slits, not unlike that of a cat. And where the whites once were is a crimson blood red. So Leon looks markedly different as well.
Yeah.
Leon,
Gris,
your eyes.
are my eyes?
They're incredible and terrifying. And Chris kind of lets out a laugh. And she's like,
Leon's like, Gris, do they look different? Or is
Oh,
this just how you've always felt about my eyes?
No. They look different, Leon.
Okay,
They're
I'm gonna need you to give me a little more, Gris.
golden and like a cat.
What?
Like that cat that hides out behind your cupboard and you just catch glimpses of their eyes in the darkness, this bright gold. And they're red. You have no whites, they're just red.
Oh my God.
Leon. And you're wearing
Usually that's a sign of illness, Gris.
yeah, but you don't feel ill. You feel
No, I don't. I feel just like I normally do, which is why I'm a bit concerned that my eyes are
you look
cat's eyes, Chris.
yes, but you look like a princess, like a lady. You're wearing a dress and a crown.
I have a crown. And Leon kind of like feels her head. Can she feel the diadem?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my, is that a crown?
It's a crown, Leon.
Oh my God.
Do
Okay.
Do the thing, Leon.
This? Leon like chuckles and goes, this?
Yes, Lady Leon LaBelle. Nice to meet you. And Chris kind of takes her hand for a second and kind of chuckles and kind of glances away from Leon for a second and then looks back at her and says, "Oh, I can't believe we're here in the dream realm." Oh, Leon.
Chris, you look so young. There's a charm on your staff.
A charm? Chris kind
A charm. It's like a little a little chickadee, like a bird.
Chickadee. I thought I'd lost it. And she reaches back comfortingly and grabs her staff and hears kind of that twinkle of wood against wood and sees the chickadee in kind of her peripheral. And she's like, kind of grasps her hand around the chickadee and kind of holds it. And she just kind of lets out a sigh. And this like kind of sense of hope and excitement kind of fills her. And she says, I thought I'd lost it. I'd searched for it all over the forest floor for days and days. Reese made it for me. Carved it for me.
Oh.
Chickadee's what he calls me.
Leon kind of puts her hand to her heart and says, I am so glad that we managed to find it for you here.
Chris kind of smiles and sighs and imagine it's only here. It must be my dream state. It's my dream form.
Leon kind of puts her hand on Gris's shoulder and says, we're going to get Reese, and then he can make you a new one.
Chris nods and says, it's crazy. Your dream form is kind of this like, it's like your soul, the purest form of who you are. And it shows the true nature of who you are. And it's just the fact that it's young me and with the chickadee, and she kind of, touches her face a little bit and can kind of feel the difference in age. And she's like, it just shows when everything was good. And then she kind of looks at Leon and says,
Leon,
but your form, is this anything you've seen before? The dress is the one from Raphael, but...
Leon kind of chuckles and says, you know, I always thought I was meant for royalty. And she's like obviously trying to like brush off the fact that this is very weird and very new to her. With like a little bit of like also Raphael's dress. I'm just so glad that I get to wear it again. Last memories of it, not so great. We're gonna bring some good memories back to it. And then Leon kind of puts her hands together and says, we need to try and find the others.
Meanwhile, somewhere else. Can I get rerolls on your perception checks, please, my friends?
Yeah.
Jenny's like, your rolls don't count.
It was bad.
Got 6 again.
Oh god,
No, you didn't.
no!
Yes, I did.
11 plus 5, 16.
All right, Ari. So you take a look around again. You've now kind of gauged who you're with, the kind of interesting dynamic you're going to have to deal with here for a little while. And you take a moment to look at your party members. Who would you like to look at first?
Galen.
All right, so you look at Galen. The first thing you notice is that he's not wearing black. It's actually, whatever this is, quite suits him. It looks to be a military uniform, almost. Sort of blue-colored. And seems to be some kind of chainmail or armor that he's wearing all over his body. It almost resembles scales to you, and when you look a little closer, you can see that in the gaps in the metal are tiny seashells that have been pressed in. Around his neck seems to be a locket, which you find rather odd, but you don't really care to comment on it. It looks to be rusty. You look up to his face, and he looks a lot like he does when he gets out of the water. His teeth are sharp and pointed, and blue scales glisten across his skin. Over the armor, he wears what appears to be an insignia. It looks to be a trident with 3 points, at the top of which is a fish that has been speared by the trident.
Okay. I just take a good look at him, take a deep sigh, and at first just go, well, isn't this splendid? And just start not even gonna acknowledge the rest and turn to Marius.
Alright, so you're gonna look at Marius. Marius is no longer in the ill-fitting borrowed clothes from Galen. Rather, he is dressed in what you recognize as the uniform of the Royal Navy. Though the cloth of the uniform is torn and burnt, and flecked with what appears to be blood. Beneath the tears are long-healed scars, which nearly perfectly align with the long slices in the fabric. And though he followed you into the dream world unarmed, strapped to his back is a heavy greatsword and what appears to be a shield. He, as you look at him, removes them from his back and looks at them with a furrowed brow. The shield appears to be emblazoned with a crest that you can see. It looks like maybe a blacksmith hammer, but you can't really tell because it's been marred by heat and melted to be nearly unrecognizable. In the melted mass of metal, as if jammed in and still hot, sparkles what looks to be a wedding ring, though it's cracked down the middle.
God. Okay. Same. And then I just am looking between them for a hot second. And I just close my eyes and I mutter to myself, "Smoke the fairy fern," Gris said. "It'll be alright," Gris said. And I start to pace around them.
Are you okay, Ari?
I don't know. Are we? Because we're missing the two people who brought us here, and y'all look... Well, Marius, you don't actually look that bad.
Marius takes the time to, like, kind of look up from his shield and seems to register what you said, and he's like, well, this is already considerably less fun than the last time.
The last time? That doesn't bode well. Was this different than the last time?
I mean, you seem fine. And he sort of, like, gestures to you.
I, like, look down at myself.
So, Ari, from what you can tell, you are pretty much the same as you were in the physical realm. Though the flask at your hip is nowhere to be found.
Damn.
Strapped to your back is your trusty short sword, as always. However, pinned to the lapel of your tunic is a small purple flower, which smells of the forest floor. Attached to it with some twine is a tiny rolled up note.
Oh, shit. I notice it and just let my breath, like, hitch for a second. And I, like, carefully unpin it and roll it and ignore the others.
Okay, would you like to know what the note says?
Yes, I would.
Okay, so it's familiar handwriting that you haven't seen for an exceptionally long time. The ink is very fresh, barely dried. It smears a little as you unroll the note. And it reads, "Fret not, my darling, my short life well spent. It was worth it where my marbles went."
I just sit there staring at it and reread it over and over and over. In disbelief.
So, Galen, that's a nice color on you.
What are you talking about? And Galen sort of like looks around and he notices the armor and kind of just like takes an exacerbated breath and is like almost like panic inducing, because the last time he saw this armor was around someone like his father, and he's just like looking at it and like patting himself down and just like
I'm pulled out of it by his distress. And I go, "Are you okay? Also, I thought you only went fish in the water."
What are you talking? And he's like touching his face and he can feel the scales and
I go, "You look like you just jumped out of a pond," and I don't see any ponds. I don't know about you. As I'm like trying to fold it away and just like keep it close. Just being like, "I'm not gonna think you're not gonna deal with that right now." I reach towards my hip and I'm in distress to find my flask missing.
oh man. Galen's just like absorbed in the fact that he's somehow wearing this armor that feels familiar but also very cold.
Yeah,
And-
Galen, you stop to think for a moment and you realize this is the last thing you ever saw your father wear. Make things difficult for me next episode. I dare you, Ryan.
Actions have consequences!
Galen sort of like just like bites his lip and is like he just mutters under his breath, "That bastard." And then smirks to himself and is like, he like looks around at Ari and he looks at Marius and then he's looking around for Gris and Leon because it's pretty quiet for Leon not being there, and he just says, where are the other two?"
Well, that was my question as soon as we showed up here.
Marius sort of is like tugging at his own uniform and obviously also incredibly uncomfortable with this entire situation, and he sort of looks up and he's like, "Oh, well, sometimes it doesn't always work in a way that makes sense. I mean, the way I see it, it's a lot like, the dream world is bigger than the. I'm sorry. And he's like,
I hold up a hand to him and just like try and reassure him. I'm just like, listen, there's a lot going on. It's fine. Do you know how to navigate inside here?
Marius kind of takes a moment and looks around, and then he points ahead of you. And you turn to look where he is pointing. And the swirling smoke kind of seems to have parted for a moment, revealing flattened sides, almost resembling a hallway or a pathway or a maze of sorts.
Okay. That seems convenient. Look the hallway up and down.
I mean, it doesn't seem safe, but I mean, we did fall asleep next to an active volcano, so I just sort of assumed you all had a very different definition of smart activities.
No, I'm right there with you, but I don't see another way.
Galen looks around and is just like, me either. I guess that's the only way that we can go.
It's Leon and Gris that we could always wait.
I don't think that's a good idea.
No.
Marius sort of replaces the shield at his back and the sword and puts his hands on his hips, and he's like, so you do drugs one time with your buddies, and all of a sudden you gotta lead people through the dream world.
You know what? That's an incredibly valid statement, and I'm very sorry on behalf of all four of us.
And Galen just sort of looks to Marius and is like hands on his hips too. And it's just like, listen, I know we haven't really been the best folks to be around, especially
Understatement.
me.
I was going to say it really was just you, Galen.
The rest of us have been perfectly fine.
But two of our own are missing, and I think that we should all go look for them and just put everything aside, because there's obviously something bigger than just petty arguments going on right now. And I'm sorry for the way I acted, but we could really use your help right now, Marius. And Galen sort of puts his arm out to sort of do one of those military bro arm things. And it's and besides, it seems we have similar aptitudes anyway. And Galen looks him up and down, making a reference to his uniform.
I just put a hand against my chest and I go, I look at him half sarcastically, half genuinely, and just go, B would be proud.
Galen sort of just puts his hand on his thigh and is just sort of just blushes, and he stands back up straight and puts his hand out again and just sort of gestures at Marius.
Marius sort of leans over to Ariadne a little bit, and in what is clearly not supposed to be a whisper, but only sound like a whisper, says, he's not very practiced at apologizing, is he?
No, he's not. But would you believe he's getting better?
Something tells me that that's not hard to believe at all. And he grabs your arm really jovially and just gives it a really enthusiastic shake, and he's like,
I return with as much enthusiasm.
Oh no, this is for Galen.
Oh. I thought he held his arm out to me!
No. He grabs Galen's arm and shakes it enthusiastically and slaps him on the back, and he's like,
Friends.
not friends, but acquaintances.
I'll take it.
So, with that, Marius starts sort of heading down the path with feigned confidence, hoping that maybe his performance is good enough to convince you all not to be absolutely terrified as you follow him. Meanwhile, Leon and Gris, you have sort of taken the time to look around, and from what you can tell, there's actually really no clear path for you here. The area that you're in pretty much just seems to be a 10-foot by 10-foot circle that lacks the sort of swirling fog that surrounds you.
Can I do a magic check? Like an arcana check?
I mean, you can.
Sure, let's do it. Why not, right? 19 plus 5, 24.
Alright, so you take a moment to kind of reach out, so to speak, and feel the dream world's presence around you. This is a deeply magical place. You can sense the presence of powers much stronger than your own, both mortal and not mortal. However, all of this sensation feels to you incredibly comforting. You feel safe. You are overwhelmed by the sensation that if you just stay here and wait, good things will come to you. Chris, would you like to do an Arcana check?
I mean, I don't want to be left out, right? So, yeah. 12?
Bad juju. Whatever's going on here is evil. It's deeply magical. And it is not good. You don't see it getting any better leaving this place, but you do know that it's incredibly dangerous.
Is there any, like, I know the area is, like, scarred and fiery and, like, ash, essentially. Can I sense any form of, like, life? Are there any growth, any animals, any plants?
No plants, no animals. Only flame and fire and dust.
Out of character, Gris fucking hates this place.
In character, Gris also hates this.
Yeah, both character, Gris fucking hates this place. I don't get a good feeling about this place.
And Leon kind of like shockingly looks to Gris and is like, really?
Yeah, really? Do you?
Feels great. Yeah. Oh my goodness. This feels fine.
Gris.
This is probably the most comfortable I felt since I was last in my bed in Alis with my mom.
Leon, I think this has something to do with those eyes of yours. I know Hell's Portal was your end game. I know you think this is where you're going to find your father. And those eyes, girl.
Leon is like, I really wish I had a mirror so that I could get a real picture of the situation at hand here.
Gris
has now been mentioned twice.
Gris is like, I wish I could draw it for you. And she kind of reaches for her satchel. Does she have her satchel? Does she have it at all?
No, she does not. She only has the staff on her back.
So she doesn't have Reese's notebook at all?
No, she does not.
Yo, So Gris, reaching for her satchel, realizing it's not there, goes, oh no. His notebook. And she kind of like pats herself down. And she's like, I don't have Reese's notebook. His journal.
Really?
That's all I had. I don't know.
Well, you still have it. Your body still has it. You just didn't bring it to the dream world, which makes sense. This is a young you. You didn't have Reese's journal then because it was with Reese.
I know, right? But I don't have it memorized. That's all of his information on the realm. That was articulate.
It's a good thing we're going to find him then, right?
Maybe we should find our friends first.
Yeah, Leon kind of says we definitely need to find them. Chris, do you think it would benefit me to just call out their names? What if I just yelled for them? I think they're within hearing distance.
The dream world, I don't... Like I told you before, sometimes people here aren't what they seem. I'd rather not just go yelling into the void, if you know what I mean. But this should, to some extent, reflect where we were.
So, question. This is my question. Technically, I have to be able to see someone in order to cast message if it's a place I don't know. But this is the dream world, and also I've been dreaming about this place for forever. So do I know it well enough to be able to cast message and try to, like...
I think you should just try to cast message.
Okay.
Who would you like to
Leon is going to cast message. Ari. First, I think she's going to try and cast it 3 times.
All right, go ahead. What would you like
or
to try?
At least in her head.
So,
yeah.
Ari.
So Leon. Oh yeah,
You are walking behind Marius. Galen follows closely behind you. You're all sort of grouped up. The swirling fog seems fairly sinister to all of you.
Okay.
As you are walking, you hear a voice in your head.
Okay.
Ari? Can you hear me, Ari?
I I'm taken aback for a second, but then I scream back, yes, and then sorry, and I throw a hand out behind me to get Galen's attention.
Does Gris know you're doing this, Leon? Did you tell her?
Leon's gonna pause for a second and be like, I just cast message. I got a response from Ari. I'm gonna keep... And she kind of just motions like this.
Gris just nods frantically.
Leon casts message again. Ari, oh my god. Are you alone? Where do you have Galen and Marius with you?
I answer back in message. Yes, I do. It's strange. We're lost. Marius is leading. All very rushed, and then out loud I go, Leon, head games, looking behind me.
Marius stops, not having been stopped by your arm, and turns around, and he's like, what about Lady LaBelle?
She knows magic. She likes to do this thing where she talks to us in our own heads. It's very strange at times.
And on that note, upon hearing that Ari has just said that Marius is leading, Leon would like to cast message to Marius. So she says, Marius, can you hear me?
Marius kind of starts for a minute and then makes eye contact with Galen and says aloud, oh, she does. She does like to.
Galen just nods like one of those mm-hmm.
So
nods
And I, upon realizing now it's Marius's responsibility, I just go, oh, thank God. Hey, fuck it. And I turn to Galen and I'm like, I fucking hate message.
Yes, my lady, I can hear you.
Leon casts message again. Ari just said that you were leading everyone. What do you see? I'm so glad you're all together so we can at least find 2 groups instead of 5 separate groups.
Well, the smoke made a pathway, and so we're following it because there wasn't much else to do, Lady LaBelle. Leon.
Leon stops and says, and casts message again. Actually, she doesn't cast message. She looks at Gris. She says, okay, Marius is leading them. Apparently their smoke made a path, and they're following it.
They're following the smoky path?
Well, it's a smokeless path at this point. And Leon kind of looks around at the smoke around them and is like, I guess they had this situation, and then it parted.
Tell them to
She
be
makes
careful,
a hand gesture.
and to not trust anybody they meet, no matter who they say they are.
Leon kind of like side-eyes Gris. And is like,
Even if it's Reese, don't trust him.
okay. Leon is like, Gris, please. Leon casts message again to Marius and is like, Gris says if you meet anyone, you're not supposed to trust them. In addition, our smoke has not parted yet. So I'm just not sure how to find you.
Why don't you stay where you are?
Okay.
And we'll find you. And on the subject of trust, from what I understand, it seems like getting any of you to trust anyone is just a whole thing, so I'm not too concerned about that one.
Chris catches Leon laughing, and she's
Leon,
like, what did they say? Are they gonna be careful?
Leo kind of like puts her finger up quickly, and she chuckles over message, and is like, the trust issues really only come from the two that you've got with you.
Ariadne's fantastic.
Agreed, Leon says. And then Leon says, okay, Gris and I will wait here. We're together. Do you want me to periodically check in?
We're just gonna wait?
I would have you in my head whenever you want, Lady LaBelle.
Leon realizing that, like, ooh, okay. She messages back and is like, then you'll hear from me soon.
I look forward to it.
And then Leon turns to Gris and is like, okay, so they are going to find us.
So we're just gonna...
She kind of puts her hands up.
Sit here.
Yes. I don't really know if there's a better option at this point. I mean, like, I could try to, like, communicate with my dad. But I don't think that's a good idea, Gris. I don't think you'd like that.
No, I do not like that. And Gris is like racking her brain for like anything from Reese's journal, and she's like, I can't do any spells. I don't have any of my herbs. I don't even have the freaking fairy fern. And she's like, oh, just remind them to hurry. Like, we don't have much time. And she's like real pissed off that she's gonna have to like sit and chill when she's like, Reese is here. The man is here. I hope.
Meanwhile, walking through this sort of passageway, it's a little bit awkward for a while, and after a certain amount of time, it becomes clear that someone's going to need to start this conversation between the most stoic members of the party. Marius sort of clears his throat awkwardly and slows down a bit to match his pace to Ariadne's, and he looks over at them. He's like, so, I don't want to pry, but the flower, if you want to share, does it mean something to you?
Ari takes like a deep sigh and kind of like half peripherally looks behind her at Galen and then like just keeps looking forward. And then goes, no, you're fine. It's actually strange. It belonged to someone very important to me, and they left me, and I like, now I look at him, and I go, she left me a note. Like a new one.
Why would she not be able to leave you a new note?
Well, she can't. She's dead, Marius. And I didn't know ghosts, and I like start getting flustered. I didn't know ghosts or spirits or whatever it is this place is. I didn't think she could be here.
Marius extends a hand and sort of pats you awkwardly on the back. I'm sorry, but from what I've read, the dream world is sort of the halfway point between death and life. So maybe
Ari's eyes just like get wide at that and just like take a deep breath, and it's like in their head there's just like this little voice going like, she could be here. She could be here. She could be here. She could be here. And it's just like kind of just focused on that. And it gets like louder and louder. It gets kind of distressing because you're like, no, can't hope that. That's not what we're, no. Like they just can't deal with that at this point. So they like try and shake it off and then turn to him and say, oh, it's fine. It was a long time ago. It just surprised me, that's all. And it's just like trying to form sentences, and then they look at him and just go like, how about you? I mean, offer still stands, you don't have to, but that doesn't seem very fun. And it's like just like kind of looks up and down at his chest and stuff.
It's not very fun. You're right, Ariadne. I was someone, and now I'm not really anyone at all. And I guess, they wanted to remind me of that, whoever they are.
I like reach out, because we're like side by side, so I just like reach out and then like grab his hand, actually. And I go, now that's a sentiment I can get behind. And I look at him and I'm like, I squeeze and I'm going, if I had a drink, I'd offer it. And I let go. And I just like chuckle a little bit.
I appreciate that, Ariadne. Galen?
Galen's ears kind of twitch, and he looks up. It's like, yes.
You look about as uncomfortable in a uniform as I feel.
I like look over my shoulder to look at Galen, and I just go, at least it's not black.
Galen sort of chuckles and just looks at Marius and goes, I was never one for uniforms.
Well, I think it would be better if no one was one for uniforms. So
I think that's something we can agree on.
Yeah,
Funny enough.
I look between them and like not kind of going over their head. Like they can see that it's like, oh, they're having a moment, but they don't understand kind of why, like why people wouldn't, why the uniform's the problem. Because all they're thinking of, and then they like mutter to themselves, like not like just cause they have no filter. They go, the robes at the temple were pretty comfortable.
Comfort isn't particularly the issue, Ariadne, but chainmail does get heavy. Yes.
they kind of the weight of the sentiment goes over their head, but they chuckle at like the, yeah, I suppose it does. That's why I don't wear it.
That's head empty. I love it.
Marius sort of gets a glazed over look in his eye for a minute, and he rubs his brow and he goes, you know, I joined the Navy because my father wanted me to. And I guess there's some unresolved issues there. You know, they say that your dream form had something to do with the quality or the capacity or the something of your soul, and well, Your soul's quite handsome, Galen, but I'm sorry that you're in this boat, too.
I look down at... Yeah, go ahead, Galen.
Well, it sounds like we just keep getting more and more similar, Marius. And he kind of grasps the charm, the trident charm, and kind of just runs his finger over it and like looks down at it and just says, my father was military too, but it meant more to him than his own family, and that kind of just left an impression on me. Okay, question for the DM: does Galen have are his like facial features retained, like the scars and everything?
So a couple things. First of all, it's not a trident charm. You have a locket at your neck. The trident is on the chainmail. Okay. Your facial features are largely the same, other than the scales and the teeth.
Okay. And Galen sort of like points to the scar like across his face and is like, I get it. I don't know. I guess it was wrong of me to be so quick to judge you. And I'm sorry for that, because as we keep walking, it sounds like we're more and more similar, which leads me to a question. On Lily's map, you marked Aquara. Why is that?
Marius sort of looks between you and Ariadne, and at this point he's actually stopped walking. And he takes a minute. I was always told, growing up, that my mother had died in childbirth, but recently my father informed me that I'm my mother was a favorite of his from Aquara, and her name was Violette. Very classy lady, very classy job, and I'm a bastard. I have no right to his family, so I moved to Aquara to look for her, and she died a long time ago. So.
Doesn't sound like a family worth being a part of, then.
Well, Ariadne, it's easy to say that when you don't have the rumor mill to deal with. I'm sure you've become some degree of acquainted with it. With the company you keep.
I actually haven't, so...
Means you're not
whatever you whatever you give me for face value is what I'll take. And I'm just saying that it doesn't seem like it's you who missed out. I think it was your father.
At this point, Galen sort of just like attempted, like as comforting as he can attempt, to like put his hand on Marius' shoulder. It sort of just like gently shakes.
Marius, like, awkwardly pats your hand, recognizing it as sort of like an olive branch that you're genuinely offering this time, and laughs a little bit, and he's like, yeah, I guess, the end moral of the story is dads are real dicks, aren't they, huh?
That's what I keep telling Galen!
Well, I think you're right about that, Ariadne. You are quite wise.
I'm very old. Compared to you.
Oh, I love elves. Meanwhile, over in the circle of no smoke, Gris and Leon are trying to keep themselves entertained and not too nervous as they wait for their friends to find them.
Leon is like, do you think it would be fun if I cast message, but like used a different voice in my head to fuck with Galen, or is that too mean?
What kind of voice would you use?
I don't know. I hadn't gotten that far.
Can you do a different voice in your head?
I don't know. Also hadn't gotten that far.
Wait, try it on me. Try it on me.
Leon casts message to Gris and is like, hello there, Galen.
No, that's different, Leon! That's different!
And then Leon says out loud, and is like, I just don't know if that would be a bad idea or a good idea.
Could you sound like B?
Oh, I don't think I could do B.
Okay.
I'd have to know B for longer to be able to, like...
Roll
I'll
a
get
deception
there. I'm
check,
sure.
Leon.
Yeah, I was going to say, can I roll a perception check, please? That was my next
Deception.
thing.
This is going to be deception. Yeah.
Oh. Well, that's an 8 plus 7.
Hey, Galen, what's your passive perception?
Oh no.
That's going to be your wisdom score.
Yeah. 14.
You can do a passable B impression.
Fuck.
Is it too difficult to do B, or is it just
Leon
interesting enough?
Leon looks at Gris and is like, I think I can do B. I think I can do it. But what should I say?
Something about lingerie. And Gris is like, ooh.
I have to call him Torrent.
And
And Leon's like figuring out, okay. Oh, what if I said something about, no, that's too mean.
I mean, I think we have to keep it pretty baseline, right? Like, they just got back together. We don't want to fuck up this relationship. But we're stuck here. They're moving around. Make it insane.
What if I just said, hi, Torrent?
Oh, that's good. That's good. Do it.
Okay. Leon casts message.
Galen,
Are
you
you
hear
gonna
a
let
voice in your head. It's familiar. You don't recognize it as Leon.
Are you gonna
And it
let
just
me-
says,
Can I roll insight to...
in Bee's voice.
This is a passive perception because it's message. I'm so sorry.
It says in Bee's voice, hi, Torrent.
Galen sort of has like a chill run down his spine. And is like...
As he said,
he just thinks in his head. Because last thing he wants to do is embarrass himself in front of his new friend, Marius. And it's just like... Oh, hi, B.
Gris is just like staring at
Leon
Leon.
does not cast message again. Leon does not cast message again yet.
No.
And looks at Gris and says, he said, hi, B. And I kind of want to leave him on red now.
Oh my god,
No.
you...
What if I just didn't say anything?
So evil.
Do you think he thinks that B actually cast it?
Galen, you do know that B cannot cast message. Or at least in the regular world.
Gris is just like, oh, I feel bad.
All I said was hi, and maybe that'll just like get them moving faster.
Yeah, maybe it's motivation. And Gris just kind of
exactly.
chuckles for a second, and like her eyes sparkle because she lives for this shit. And she's like, I hope we find Reese.
Leon's smile kind of drops and says, we're going to. We're here. You heard those. It sounded like two men fighting.
You heard that too?
I think, yeah. Yeah, I couldn't make out the voices,
Yeah.
but
I just felt like in that moment, like I felt like it was Reese. But it's only because I'd had that dream where he was screaming. I think that's the only reason. I don't know if it was actually his voice. I don't know if I actually
it's a
like
good sign.
but screaming
The fact
is
that
that a
you
good
felt
sign?
it. Well, no, the more like I more so meant like the feeling of him, it being him.
But I'm worried, what if I find him and he's not okay? He's not himself.
Leon looks at Gris and says, "What ifs are the worst thing you can think about right now."
Oh, Leon, I know, but we're stuck here and I'm this close to either finding him or not finding him. And I'm supposed to not what if? He's my husband.
know.
We've been together
I don't want to what if right now.
longer than you've been alive.
That's
Like,
a fair point.
It's true.
I'm just saying you could drive yourself mad thinking about all the things that might happen in the next 10 hours.
Leon, I drove myself mad before I even left Dreamer's Grove. I sat there
here,
making potion
you're
after
not mad.
potion, salve after salve. I talked to everyone I knew. I put every remedy, every spell. I sat over his bedside day in, day out, lost track of days, weeks, months, just trying to get that man out of bed. Trying to hear, "Hi, chickadee," just one more time. So I'm sorry if I'm a little less than, hopeful.
Leon takes Gris's hands and says, "I get it. I understand. But what you did was you didn't stay by that bedside. You took it into your own hands. And now we're here. And we're going to find him."
But what if it's not enough, Leon? What if we can't save him?
It's going to be enough.
Meanwhile,
and then I'd like Leon to cast message if she can.
Go for it.
To Marius. I just want her to kind of be like, "Hi, Marius. Just checking in, wondering where you're all at.
Hello.
Just wondering where everyone is."
Hello, Lady Lavelle. He sounds strained, but he's fine. We are safe, I think.
Okay.
We're at a fork in the road.
Shit. Can I roll a perception check, or is that not going to do anything? We still in that circle?
That's not going to do anything. You're still in that circle.
I didn't think so. Okay. Shit. Okay.
Meanwhile, you're at a fork in the road. The path now diverges in two directions. It hits basically a dead end with a left option and a right option. Galen, you've just heard someone that sounds a lot like B, but not exactly like B in your mind. Marius appears to be in a head conversation. Ariadne, it's just vibes. It's just vibes.
Yeah.
You're hanging out. You got a lot on your mind, but you have not had to talk to Leon or anyone in your head for a while, and so head literally empty. You're just standing there.
Yeah.
And,
If anything, I'm just fiddling, like folding and unfolding and refolding the note.
So I know I said I'd lead us, but
you don't know where you're going, do you?
It was just one direction before. It wasn't that hard to lead. I'm so sorry.
You chuckle a bit, and I go, "That's fair. Any ideas?" It's not like either of us could have done better.
I mean, they're right, but...
Oh, yeah? Galen, you have something you wanted to add?
I was just saying that Ari was right. I mean, we haven't been here before. We have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, This is new to me too.
Did we roll perception or something?
Roll
Or
a
is it not
D4.
going to do anything?
Roll a d4.
Okay.
You get Marius to roll a d4 too.
D4. Oh God.
3.
3. Hey!
All right,
Lindsay.
I don't even have to roll a d4 for that one. Y'all did that for me. Thank you. So you take a moment, and the left seems to call for you.
Okay.
Hmm.
Maybe it's just me, but I'm getting a left vibe. No particular reason.
You know,
I
it's
think I-
odd. Me too.
Yeah. Me too.
And I look between the three of us and I go, that could either be very good or very bad, but we don't really have the tools to decide, so I'm leaving that up to you.
Left it
Would
is.
you like would you like to lead again, Marius? Or would you like second shift?
If you'd like to follow me, I'm happy to lead, Galen.
That doesn't answer my question, but okay. And then Galen just starts walking towards the left path.
Okay. So you all sort of proceed to the left. The walls around you, you can see sort of shapes moving behind them. Shadowy, weird figures. You can't quite make out what they are, but they're definitely there. However, if you listen exceptionally quietly, completely still, without moving, you think you can hear a familiar giggle somewhere in the distance. Maybe 2 familiar giggles. And some snorting, apparently.
Galen throws up one of those like, hey, stop motions.
Mm.
And is like points at his ears and then circles around because he doesn't want to make any noise.
Yep. Everyone can hear, like, really, really quiet, somewhere far in the distance, laughter.
I just want everyone to know
Yeah.
that what Leon is doing right now is trying to teach Gris how to do like all of the little hand things her and her friends did as kids. So like Stella, Ella, Ola, clap, clap, clap. That was all of those. She's trying to teach Gris all of them right now just to pass the time.
Or
Wow.
like Miss Mary
That's why
Beth
it's
for my
giggling.
American friends.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Of hearing these, I just kind of go, is that? No. Is
It sounds like a schoolyard rhyme.
I mean, they wouldn't. Right? They're as concerned, and I like look at Galen with like a face of knowing the answer is no. They're as concerned as we are, right? They wouldn't.
Galen matching the tone is like, yeah, they wouldn't. No way.
Just give Arya like looks up to the sky, just gives a big sigh, and just goes like, "It's okay," and it's just like, points to like, can we tell where it's coming from, or just gotta keep going?
You just gotta keep going. Marius sort of notes both of your attitudes and laughs a little bit. And he's like, well, I happen to think there's something quite attractive about a lady with a sense of humor.
Galen sort of just like turns around and looks over his shoulder at Marius and is like, we've known. And just keeps walking.
Women are a touchy subject with him, aren't they, Ariadne?
Woman?
Women, yes. Sorry, sounds like you only caught one word there.
Oh,
Women are a touchy subject with him, are they not?
you could say as much. Just chuckling.
Galen, the locket at your neck calls to you. You've yet to look at it.
I look down at the locket, I guess, and I run my finger over it. I don't.
Locket's,
It's on my neck. I don't know what else I can do. I don't know how long the chain is. Like,
it's long enough that you could open it and look at it.
okay, so I pull it away and then I open it and look at it.
There's 2 pictures inside. One of them is of a familiar woman. She has black hair, pulled up in a loose bun, and beautiful eyes. And she looks much younger than the last time you saw her, a lot like she did in your youth when she was doing her best to raise you in that house by the shore. The other picture is also a woman, less serious, much more pink. She appears to be laughing in the picture.
Galen sort of
Much
just
more
smiles
pink.
to himself. He smiles to himself and kind of. Did he hear what Maria said?
Oh yeah, no, he's just he's giving you a ribbing. You've
okay.
done some, he needs to get his shots back. You've been
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
so Galen's like looking at this locket, and he kind of just smiles to himself, and then he goes, "I've only got the 2 that I need," and then closes the locket and lets it fall down to his chest again.
okay. That was pretty sweet. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, exactly. I look back, and I say, "That's sweet, but don't let Leon hear that."
Marius chuckles at that and he goes, "She does seem to think she's a necessary component of everyone's lives. It's not.
Really?
I'm not complaining. It's just very.
Oh, we are, and I like point between Galen and I.
Galen nods, like one of those, like, yep.
So you continue down this path, and the mist around you seems to grow a little thinner. However, it ends abruptly. A dead end. However, on the other side, you can hear Leon and Gris. The focus is now on you.
Leon's like, okay, so then it's like hand up, like your left hand goes down and your right hand goes up, and then you flip them,
Okay.
and then it goes opposite. We do that 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and then we put our hands together and we go up, down, up. Right?
Up, down, up. So
Exactly.
one. Oh gosh. Young. I'm not young anymore.
Leon chuckles and puts her hand on Chris's arm and is like, let's take a break. This is the 3rd one I'm trying to teach you. I think it might be a lot.
I think this is the most difficult out of all the ones you've taught me so far.
Yeah, I was escalating them in difficulty. But you've done so well.
Oh.
I should probably cast message or something and figure out.
Yeah, you're right. It's probably a good time. I feel like we've been here for a good minute, or more than a minute, probably at this point.
Yeah, honestly. And as Leon kind of gets silent to cast message, can she hear them?
You can hear 3 people laughing. 2 of them have like deeper, heartier laughs than the 3rd.
Leon kind of looks to Gris and is like, do you hear that?
Gris like immediately scrambles to her feet and is like, Ariadne, and like a whisper scream.
Ariadne, you
I
can
want
hear
Leon
that.
to walk towards the side of the
What?
circle where the voices are the loudest.
All right, you walk towards that side of the.
Jenny,
circle.
what'd you say?
Ariadne, you hear your name being
Oh,
whisper
yeah,
screamed.
cool.
And Gris is like, don't get too close, Leon. And one more time, scream whispers, Ariadne!
Leon like looks at Gris and
Approach
is like,
the mist, and I'm just like putting my ear kind of to it, but not wanting to touch it.
Does Ari's face like
Leon's
kinda
like got her
come-
finger like hovering.
So like, it almost behaves as a solid object. So like, you can't tell that Ari's gotten closer, but you can definitely tell that this like
Okay.
thin band of weird smoke mist is the only thing separating you.
Okay. So Gris is like, if it's you, Ariadne, tell me something only Ariadne would know.
And Ari
Leon
just like
looks at Gris.
goes face blank, just like, I have lost all knowledge that I ever held. And I go, the owls were right.
Oh, Ariadne, it's the squirrels!
Leon
Take a step
puts her
back. I
hands up
take
and
a
is like,
step
"No,
back.
No, not now.
Yeah.
No.
I take a step back and I go, I think it's them.
Chris is like, that's definitely Ariadne. At least we can trust them.
Leon starts calling through the wall and is like, Galen, Marius, are you two there as well?
Lady
Galen just shouts, "No!"
Chris
Thanks,
chuckles.
Galen.
Marius looks at you reproachfully, but there's like mirth sparkling in his eyes. Like he definitely thought that was funny, but he's trying to act like he's an adult. And he
Galen sort of leans down to Ari real quick and was just like, "You see that? Do you see his eyes? I got him with that one."
So
and I like just go to Galen. I'm like, yeah, it was good. It was good. It was good.
Marius removes the sword from his back and goes, Lady LaBelle, Lady Gris, I'm going to need you to step back.
Okay, but I'm not really a lady.
Leon steps back and like
See Marius raise
Leon
his
steps
head and I
back
go,
and, like,
I was
throws
just
her hand
thinking
in
that.
front of
He sort of looks at Ari and he goes, you are one of the smartest people I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. And then takes the sword and just sort of slices through the mist, which parts. And he
Ari's just like beaming. I'm just like, yeah, I am.
he puts the sword back, puts his hand on his hips, and smiles. And he's like, I didn't think that was going to work. And you
I
can
just, like
see,
look at him and I go, oh, I did.
you can
But I'm
now
guessing,
see each other.
Yeah, in this moment, like Gris
Yeah, I
and,
was gonna
and Leon
say.
are processing their friends' dream forms.
Yes.
Leon is like, you're not wearing black. That's
You're
like the
also-
first thing she said. She's like, that's blue.
I hold up a hand to Leon to like and like wave it a little bit to like catch her attention, and I go, Leon, look at me.
Yes, Ari.
Leave their clothes, dream clothes, alone. I'm just like,
They look great.
Kind of tilts
okay,
her head,
I'm just saying.
and she kind of eyes Galen, and she's like, "You're not human, Galen. Interesting."
I hear Gris say this, and as I'm looking them up and down, I like gasp a little bit. First at Gris, and just go like, oh, okay. And I just smile a little bit. And then at Leon, because like I had not really like taken her in, I was just like, oh my god, Leon, boundaries before you fuck this up. Marius agreed to help us. And just go and like to finally look at her face properly and just like stumble back a bit, and I'm just like, Gris?
Gris is like, "The eyes, right?
I'm just
Crazy."
looking between them both, just like frantically, just like just takes another step back, just like, okay.
Okay, question. Dream realm. Happy, exciting, or bad vibes? And she kind of looks to Galen and Ari and Marius in succession.
The first time, lots of fun. Now,
Not so much.
she looks
Not-
radiant and red.
Gris kind of nods, and she's like, "Leon thinks this place rocks. I'm concerned."
Leon puts her hand up and looks at Gris and goes, I can hear you when you put your hand up.
Gris keeps her hand up and says, "Okay, Leon, but I'm concerned."
Galen puts his hand up
Um,
and goes, "She hasn't been making the best decisions lately, now has she?"
Gris now both hands up.
Leon
He's
looks
like, "You're not wrong."
And
Leon, like,
I just
rolls
look,
her
I'm
eyes.
looking between them and I'm go, we can all see your lips.
Gris kind of like dies
Leon-
laughing.
Leon looks to Galen and Marius and is like, Ari just took 3 steps back when they looked at my eyes. They're
There.
not
Your-
that bad.
Your eyes, hold on. And Galen sort of like gets closer, and as he's approaching, he can see that the whites of her eyes are red, and sort of just like stops in his tracks and goes,
Oh.
Yeah.
It's off-putting.
It's like a
Oh,
spooky
good.
cat.
Awesome.
Or like a cat with rabies?
You know what it reminds me of?
What?
I had this book about dragons.
Oh.
Galen sort of just like looks to Marius and was like, "Did you say dragons?"
I recognize it, and I turn to Leon, and I'm like, couldn't you speak Mama Wyvern?
Yes, I could speak Draconic.
Chris's eyes go wide and she says, "Oh, slits not like cats, but like dragons."
Salamanders!
Yeah.
Salamander.
Okay. And Leon kind of like scratches her
I'm
head.
like wizard, but I wanted to bring back the salamanders.
Salamanders are actually amphibians, Ariadne.
Oh,
It's fine.
Parcel tongue?
It's good. It was a good circle.
damn. Took a risk. You gotta take risks in improv, listen.
It was good. No, Marius appreciated it. He thought it was clever. He's a bit of a know-it-all.
So Leon kind of like, as she's like rubbing her head, thinking about her eyes, she's like kind of playing with the diadem a little bit. And then she's kind of like, we don't have much time. We need to find Reese. We need to find my dad. We need to find out what's going on. Are you all okay? Ari, you look exactly the same.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. like think of the texture of the paper in my hand. Just like hide it.
Chris is kind of like, have you not changed your like appearance in several years, Ariadne?
I mean, last time I think my appearance kind of changed. I mean, I expect it's the same times when yours changed. I don't know what to tell. It's not that different for elves, Chris.
Chris kind of just nods and she's just processing. Like, she's trying to figure out the why and has no idea why.
So as you all sort of...
Now,
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, now that the fog has kind of been parted, I want to roll perception.
You don't need to roll
See if
perception.
I can figure out where to go.
Okay. Necessary. So you all sort of are taking each other in. There's a lot going on here. And suddenly, as you stand there, a voice, familiar to one of you, but not all, echoes through the space. It is gentle, but firm, like a parent scolding a child. Welcome home, my child. Welcome home to your fate, and to your guests. And a figure kind of steps out of the smoke in front of you. A smiling, older elven man holds open his arms in a gesture of goodwill. Fine smile lines around his eyes, creasing upwards. It is a pleasure to finally meet you.
Leon is kind of speechless. What? Oh shit. Okay. Leon kind of looks at him and goes, "Oh my god. You're my father, aren't you? What?"
My dear Leon. And he sort of steps forward and takes your hand. And presses a very gentle kiss to it before releasing it. I have waited for this day for a very long time. You look so much like your mother.
Leon gasps and is like, Hi. I've waited my whole life to meet you. Didn't necessarily think it would be here, though. But thank you for bringing me here. Leon's just like overjoyed. She's like, "Did my dad?"
Gris kind of noticing, like, Leon's kind of letting things that she may normally be suspicious about kind of just fall to the wayside. And so Gris, kind of reacts in fear, but also in that, like, motherly sense. And so she kind of, like, crosses her arms and, like, takes a step towards Leon. And she's kind of, like, looking and, like, sizing up Leon's dad and just kind of says, "You have other names."
Oh, my little halfling. We all have many names, do we not? That one has the name his beloved calls him, and the one you all know him by. That one has a shortened name. She, and he gestures to Leon, has many titles, and you, Griselda, you have 3, don't you?
Gris kind of processes in her head, and she's like, "I don't go by Griselda."
He laughs a little bit and he says, "Well, some even claim the right to names they shouldn't have. Isn't that right, Marius?" And then he sort of, like, smiles again and he goes, "Please, you will be much more comfortable in my home."
Lead the way. And Leon is like, "Okay, yeah, let's go."
As Leon goes to kind of like follow her father, Gris kind of like reaches for her arm and like squeezes a little bit, hoping to be like, "Remember when I said?" But she doesn't vocalize it. She just kind of like mom squeezes. And then
I just like lean up to Gris and just go, "Listen, I love tea time as much as anyone, but
"We're running out of time," Gris responds. Yeah. So Gris kind of pipes up and says, "Mr. Leon.
Mr.
Lavelle.
Betrayal, sir?
Mr.
Your home, I'm sure your home is lovely, but we can't all stay here, and we do have someone to find.
We have to be out of here before sunrise."
"You're looking for someone, Monk?"
Gris kind of looks at Ariadne and kind of like, "I don't know if you should say anything, but maybe we should say something, but I don't know if you should say something."
And I'm just looking at Gris, just like, "I don't know, he's your husband, it's up to you."
And Gris is like, "My husband. Another halfling. Brown hair, brown eyes. A little scatterbrained, but very kind."
"I don't know if I've seen this brown hair, brown eyes, scatterbrained, kind halfling you speak of, but let us go."
I like pipe up, sorry.
When you say dreamer, his eyes narrow for just the briefest of seconds, and then
because I look at Gris and I go, "There's probably not too many of those, right?"
Gris kind of grunts because she's not sure it was the right thing to say. She's like,
He sort of returns to smiling and says, "Well, you are welcome to prepare for your search briefly in my home while I get acquainted with my daughter."
Gris just kind of nods and is ready to follow after Leon.
Leon's like there. She's like, "All right, let's go."
Marius...
I go, "I do think he recognized it." To Gris.
To Gris.
Yeah.
And Gris just kind of like shoots a glance at Ariadne and like a slight nod, and it just kind of tenses a little bit.
Marius leans to Galen and says, "This seems very bad."
Galen leans back and is like, "Yeah, it does."
I feel like maybe we're walking into
A trap?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear this too.
You can hear about half of it. You can hear him say bad, you can hear Galen say a trap, and then you can hear them both sort of agree with each other monotonously a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Question.
Yeah.
Answer.
Did Galen and Marius and Ari, I guess, hear the arguing? Or is that just for Leon and Gress?
The arguing? Oh no, everybody heard that.
Everybody heard that? Okay. So Galen sort of like leans over to Marius and is like, I get the feeling that Mr. Dragon Wizard, whatever, may be lying about everything.
I mean, fathers tend to do that, do they not?
I mean, you're right on that, but let's try and stay as close to Leona as we can possibly can.
How much of that did I catch?
You caught all of that, and you catch the response, which is, "Oh, Mr. Galen, that's what I intend to do anyways."
Awesome.
Again,
I just
sighs
yeah.
disappointedly.
But I just turn to kind of face them and think, oh yeah, but are you gonna be the one to tell Leon, hey, don't?
Your dad sucks, Leo.
I've got that covered. Sorry. Again, sort of like
Fair
cracks
enough.
his
I'm
knuckles.
just not gonna be on the receiving end of it.
Gris, having not heard anything and focused on like eyes on weird man, eyes on Leo, nothing weird happens here. Kind of grunts in the directions of the others and is like, "Are you coming? We gotta like help our friend."
They continue
I
forward.
figured we all were, yeah.
But
Okay.
Marius looks at Ari and he says, Ariadne, she has a right to know who she is just like we do. If we are her friends, the best we can do is try to keep her safe, can we not?
Suppose.
So you all sort of follow the aptly named Mr. Betrayal through the fog, which begins to part and opens to what appears to be a cave entrance. There's this sort of mound of red rock with a almost perfect semicircle leading into presumably what must be a cavern. He sort of stops and gestures to it.
Mm-hmm.
Galen mumbles under his breath. Fitting.
Looks
Leon
can
hear
be
that?
deceiving, Mr. Wayfair.
Gris is just
It's
like,
lovely. Grimace.
yeah, I guess a home's a home, huh? Can we like, I don't know, like, I'm just worried about time here, and I'm worried that if we go into a cave, we're not going to know what time it is because we're waiting for a specific, kind of like astral event to happen.
Leon looks to her father and says, my friends, they're in a rush. Can we go in quickly?
We can go in quickly. Yes, anything for you, my daughter. As you proceed forward, he kind of slows his pace to walk with you, Leon. And he looks at you and he says, "So I see you have the gift."
Leon says, yes, I have so many questions for you. Things that I've wanted to ask my whole life. What's your name? I guess is the first one.
Mr. Betrayal.
Obviously.
My name is Elias. Leon.
Okay. Elias, okay. What do you want what do you want me to what would you like to be called by me? Are you okay if I just call you Elias? I feel like
Whatever
probably a
you are
little weird
most
if I call you Dad.
comfortable with, my
Okay.
daughter.
Okay. What? Why did you leave?
It's, you started with the hardest question. I see. Well,
I've waited a long time to ask it.
your mother was the most beautiful woman I'd ever met. She was smart and funny and quick-witted.
Yeah.
But
She's still
it's good to hear. It's good to hear. She was the kind of woman it was far too easy to fall in love with, and I did, and things happened. Sometimes, Leon, your own destiny gets in the way of the things you love the most. And I made some mistakes that caught up with me. And so I left for your safety and hers.
okay. I wonder. I mean, like, Leon's not dumb. Can I roll insight on that
Roll insight with disadvantage.
to see if he's okay?
While you do that, Jenny, can we roll perception for this like weird house that we're going into? Like,
You
is
can
there
roll
anything?
perception.
That's a 12.
Okay, you rolled a 12. Hang
Yeah.
on, let me look at this. Deception is
Yeah.
yeah, I would literally have to crit fail for that to pass.
I
Leon,
figured, yeah.
he's telling you the truth from what you can tell. As you follow him into this cave real fast, can everybody roll a perception check? And
19.
then Leon, you can
Yes.
24.
Yeah, crit fail.
Alright, Ari, your first thought is, holy shit, this is not a cave, and that's just kind of where the thought train stops.
Cool.
The other two, you both rolled really high, so we're
I
gonna call
rolled a
this...
15.
Okay. Alright, so we're gonna call this
Okay.
everyone else's perception check. You walk in through this sort of makeshift doorway, and the cavern opens up. The ceiling is much taller than possible, given the outside sort of hill that this cave emerged from, maybe 30 feet tall. It appears to be one large room, but the room is filled with furniture and bookshelves and beautiful, ornate glasswork and tapestries. They seem to depict the creation of the worlds by the gods. The floor is made of lacquered hardwood. Every piece of furniture is unique, but elegant and beautiful, and all seems to go together in the oddest of ways. Everything seems to be a shade of red or orange, with gold filigree as far as you can see. It is ornate, it is beautiful, and it is unlike anything you've ever seen, even you, Leon, from the nobility.
Do we notice any exits, other entrances, other people?
There appears to be a door at the very far end of the room, about 50 feet away from you. It is made of the same lacquered wood as the floor, and has a shining gold handle.
I'd just pipe up and go, this is not like the cave I lived in. I'm just looking around.
Leon chuckles and says, "This is beautiful. This is even nicer than the LaBelle Manor in Alis. I am. Clearly, I got my taste from both sides."
I'm flattered. Thank you.
Chris is kind of baffled, like not used to this level of ornate and spectacle in general, but shocked to see it in the dream realm. And she kind of turns to Elias and is like, how does one get furniture here? How do you have a home here?
He sort of like kneels down to be on
That's
your
good.
eye level, and he goes, Griselda,
Chris.
Gris. The dream realm is not real in the sense that all other things are. You can have whatever you want here so long as you want it hard enough. And a little magic.
A little magic. What do you mean by a little magic?
You can use spells to create things, Griselda. I thought you, of all people, would understand this.
I understand. I'm just trying to process. That's all.
He sort of, like, chuckles a little bit, but when he made eye contact with you, you noticed that his eyes were of the same golden color.
Yes, I figured.
That Leon's were. Ringed with red, though the whites of his eyes remained the same.
Leon looks to him and says, Do you know where we may find other people? I came here looking for you, but Gris is here looking for someone else. I know we talked about that already, but do you know where we could find him?
Gris kind of just clears her throat for a second and turns to Leon, and not super loud, but loud enough for Leon to hear. She says, "You're here to get to know your father. Maybe you should take some time to do that." And she also kind of whispers, "His eyes, similar to yours. But yours, the whites are red, by the way."
Leon says, "Oh, okay, thank you." And then she kind of looks at her dad's eyes and is like, "Oh." And then she looks back at Gris and is like, "That's quite different."
And Gris kind of nods and she's like, "Yours are honestly scarier."
Good. You know what? Sometimes you gotta intimidate people. Okay.
And then Gris kind of...
Leon,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say she kind of like backs away from Leon and her dad and kind of starts to maybe secretly kind of peek around at just kind of all the things that she sees, trying to figure out any clues or anything like that.
Leon says to her dad, "Can we maybe sit and talk for a few minutes? I want to help my friends, but I'd like to talk."
I would be happy to, my child. And he sort of, like, leads you over to a set of chairs, leaving Gris, Galen, Ari, and Marius all sort of standing in an awkward group. Marius kind of, like, puts his hands back on his hips, looks around, and lets out, like, a long, low whistle. He's like... So, he's got interesting taste.
I've already thought about it.
Thought about stealing it or thought about how bad it is? Gris kind of just like lets it out.
Galen sort of like throws Gris a side eye and is like, both.
So, well, it doesn't seem fair to call it a cave at this point.
Gris is like, "Yeah, but being a cave makes me think there's one way in and one way out, which I don't love. To be honest, I don't get good feelings from Mr. Betrayal."
I've seen one other door.
I was going to ask if you noticed that the door... What do you think is over there? More tacky.
Gris, how like far away are Leon and her father from the door?
So they're about 20 feet away from you, about 30 feet away from the door.
So Gris kind of looks at the door and looks at Galen and Ari and is like, "What if maybe one of our stealthier friends gave the handle a jiggle?"
I mean, you could have just asked Gris.
I'm just saying, we don't know anything about this guy except for the song. And in the song, he's kind of like not cool. So
Yeah, not a great guy.
I mean, wasn't he a murderer?
Kind of convicted of war crimes, yeah.
and the fact that, you know, Leon's eyes and his eyes and Leon feeling good about being here, a little concerned, and I don't want Leon to end up trapped here, and I don't want us to end up trapped here, because if we don't leave by sunrise, we very well could be.
We're not leaving, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm fine with this plan. But I turn to Galen and I'm just like, are you certain you can? 'Cause this wouldn't be the time to not do it.
I'm confident.
Galen, heads up, you're wearing chainmail, so you will roll with disadvantage for stealth checks.
So maybe we should go with our wood elf, who is also kind of sneaky a little bit, kind of an elf, kind of light of foot.
Marius sort of like nods, and he's like, "Well, I'm off the table. He sort of like gestures to himself. He's like, conspicuously handsome, conspicuous.
Of course.
Grit kind of chuckles, and she's like, "Well, I mean, Ari, you could say you were looking for maybe
The
a
washroom.
restroom or some snacks."
I suppose, but I'm an elk. Fine, it's fine. It's fine. I'll do it.
Chris, if it happens, I'll be right there with you, and we'll say we're looking for mushrooms. I think, this guy doesn't know us, but maybe Leon.
I don't know, Grizz. He seems to know quite a bit about us.
Yeah, except he calls me Griselda,
Exactly.
which is not good, by the way.
No. Oh, we know. But did you think about how he knew that?
Not really, actually.
He called me Mister. I didn't really like that.
Did he call you Torrance, or did he call you Galen?
He called me Mr. Wayfair.
That's gross.
It's
That's
very.
not good. I don't
And
like
Marius
that.
said something about you going like a different name?
He
That's dumb. Don't worry about it, Grizz.
It's
Okay.
fine.
Yeah. I just got married. Yeah.
Ari, why don't you just go jiggle the door handle, and if he notices, just ask where his ale is.
Cool. Fair enough. That I can do.
That's
And I go like, yes, finally a plan that makes sense. I guess I kind of try to make my way over as stealthily as possible, conspicuous. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be.
Okay, so you are going to do a stealth check. Meanwhile, though, let's have Leon talk to her dad a little bit.
As they sit down, Leon looks to her father and says, "You said some things from your past caught up with you. I've heard some things about you. Are they true? What? Why do you have so many terrible names?"
Leon, the truth is subjective. You have never fought in a war, my dear.
I have not.
Sometimes you have to choose sides. And when you choose sides, things tend to get messy. People
Okay.
die, people rename you, and your legacy is often tainted by the choices you make.
There were people trying to kill me. And I think it has to do with, I guess, our blood. Why would they try to... A man said, "Golden blood for golden causes," and then tried to kill me. And I still don't know why, because we killed them.
He takes your hand very gently and holds it in both of his hands. My dear Leon, you may have realized this by now, but you are special. You are powerful. You have a fate greater than yourself, greater than your companions, greater mayhaps than me. And there are people who would rather not have you live to see this fate through. It is the gift of your blood, Leon, that they chase after.
That's what I was worried about. Okay. My goodness, She kind of like shakes that off and is like, you know, it was difficult to learn about magic without the person who gave me my magic in my life.
Can we have that stealth check, please?
Yep.
And what
19
was that?
plus 7, 26.
I like that roll.
Let's
Yes.
I like that roll.
see.
Can Gris say something to Galen and Marius before
Yes.
we do any crazy shit?
Yes.
So Gris, while Ariane has slowly made their way to the door to Jiggle Said Handle, has been kind of in her head retracing the Song of the Dreamer at the End of the World. And she suddenly kind of stops, eyes wide, looking around her, and turns to Galen and to Marius as well, but mostly to Galen. And she's like, I think I figured it out.
Figured what out, Gris? I need more than that.
Took the words
This-
right out of my mouth.
The poem, the Song of the Dreamer at the End of the World. So in the poem, it says, Hell grants a traitor his gilded throne. And she kind of like motions around her like, this shit's gilded, bruh. Puts on his head a crown of stone, and she kind of like, look at Leon's waist. And then she says, only when golden blood is spilled is the dreamer's destiny fulfilled. And she's like, I think he's gonna kill Leon. We need to get the crown away from him. And we need to get Leon away from him. And we need to get out of here.
Marius
I could
sort
be
of
wrong, but
Marius like strokes his chin for a minute and he goes, if she has golden blood, wouldn't he have golden blood? I'm not advocating that we, and he sort of like does like a little gesture, points at his sword, does like a little like kind of stabbing gesture again. Her
Chris is kinda
father,
like-
I'm just thinking if golden blood has to be spilled, couldn't it?
And then
I-
Gris kind of processes again, and she's like, wait a second. Only when only when golden blood, and she's kind of like getting it mixed up in her head, and she's like, only when golden blood is spilled is the dreamer's destiny fulfilled. And she's like, wait, maybe blood does need to be I don't know. I just don't
Galen sort of turns to Marius and goes, so do we kill the shitty dad, or... And kind of just like throws his hands up like, I mean,
Personally, I've
we
stopped.
know it's a pattern.
I've stopped advocating for murder recently, but
Recently, okay.
just saying if it has to, I would rather it be him than. She's really pretty.
Again, another thing we agree on, not on the pretty thing, but on the thing. And Galen points to his sword, or Marius' sword.
Marius is like,
God.
I told you we'd get along just fine.
Chris is still like muttering this shit under her breath, and she gets to the final line, and she's just like, wake the dreamer, save the world, wake the dreamer, save the world. She's like, I don't know. I just get a bad feeling.
Ariadne, you have
Yeah.
reached the door without being sighted,
Mhm.
and you kind of jiggle the handle and find that it seems to be locked. Would you like to roll a perception check to listen to the door?
Yes.
All right.
Give me a moment. Perception. There we go. Oh. 18 plus 5. 23.
Okay, before we talk about what you hear, Leon, do you have any more questions for your father?
Leon kind of takes this moment. She says, What is my fate? What is it? You've said I have one, but I don't.
My dear.
What?
I have very large plans for you. All you have to do is trust me. Ariadne, you press your ear, your beautiful, delicate, pointed ear, against the door and listen, all the while kind of keeping an eye trained on Leon and her father, who seem deeply engrossed in conversation.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side of the door, you can hear a man. It sounds like he's far away, and he is screaming in pain. We will be back next week with part 2 of the season finale of Tabletop Tavern, The Maiden Voyage.